thank you, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Proud to be here. Proud to be here. My name is Kerry, and I am here. I'm honored to be here to be on this TED Talk and talk about the student anti-war protests in the early 1960s and 1970s. It was a widespread protest against the U.S.'s involvement in the Vietnam War. The movement was composed of students and young people who were opposed to the war and demanded the U.S. government to withdraw the troops from Vietnam. The movement gained momentum in the mid-1960s with major protests and demonstrations taking place on college campuses across the country. Richard Nixon craved victory in Vietnam. On April 30th, 1969, Nixon terribly miscalculated the level of support for his policies. With what he believed was the support of the American people, Nixon announced the invasion of the American troops to stop North Vietnamese attacks on South Vietnam. American campuses immediately erupted. In the article, "We Didn't Fire a Shot, We Didn't Burn a Building" by Christopher Broadhurst, it states, nearly 6,000 protesters from 7 North Carolina campuses marched from North Carolina State Capitol to the state capitol to denounce Nixon's support in the about the Cambodian invasion. Okay. American engagement in Vietnam spanned almost 2 decades, 3 presidencies, and its planning and implementation involved layers upon layers of departments, agencies, councils, and committees. So it shouldn't come to shock Nixon announcing his motives in Vietnam was the emergence of student anti-war protesters in America. American students saw these new war policies and tactics wounding their campuses. What has been considered the lost war in American history, the conflict with great cost and no clear benefit, great sacrifices with ambiguous results. These were students that were passionate about their beliefs in Vietnam as a result of the creation of the Student Democratic Society and the Committee to End the War in Vietnam. The New Left protesters were growing not only in numbers but also in intensity. However, these 2 prominent New Left organizers were joined by other additional student groups. A notable addition was the prominent civil rights group Concerned Black People. This group helped aid the planning of the Dow protest that took place at the University of Wisconsin in 1967. In the article, "Tear Gas and Broken Glass" by John Stacy, it states, up until this point, the University of Wisconsin Police Department had not engaged with political protesters on campus, but the arrest of 19 demonstrators over 2 days shows that the University of Wisconsin's Police Department and the university administrations backing them were beginning to react more harshly to the increasingly more volatile and disruptive New Left protesters. New Left leaders believed that the previous methods had clearly not swayed the feelings between the university and the draft. These individuals were permitting through the campus and were willing to come into direct confrontation with police officers and university authorities in order to have their voice heard and their demands met. Therefore, this led to several other protests in the U.S. across American campuses, and the most notable one occurred at Kent State, therefore leading into a shooting which created a time of unity and despair in America. Kent State University was one of the first campuses to protest the Cambodian invasion. In the article, "We Didn't Fire a Shot, We Didn't Burn a Building," the student reaction at North Carolina State University to the Kent State shootings by Christopher Broadhurst states, "A weekend of demonstrations against the Cambodian invasions had created tense conditions at the university. In the early afternoon of May 4th, those tensions turned tragic when National Guard fired upon a crowd of students, killing 4 and wounding 9. The gathering at Kent State arguably was the start of what is considered the heroic phase of the heroic phase of the Vietnam War movement on American campuses. The joining together of people on campus was used as a way to publicize the issue and raise awareness, resulting in the death of four unarmed student protesters. This could be considered yet another trigger event for the movement because of the national recognition that was gained from this tragic event. The Kent State shooting will remain forever as a reminder of the day when Vietnam War came home to America. In conclusion, the Vietnam War had profound impact on the students and young people in America. Many students were drafted into the war, and many others were deeply opposed to the conflict and just the government policies at the time. As a result, the Vietnam War became a major issue on hundreds of college campuses, with many students wanting to become involved in the anti-war movement. This movement was characterized by protests, sit-ins, and other forms of civil disobedience. Students also face a great deal of pressure from society to conform to certain expectations about the role in the war. And some young people struggled with the emotional and psychological effects of the conflict. Overall, the Vietnam War had significant impact on the lives of students and many young people